Hello, this is Alex from the National Weather Service in Pocatello with your Southeast Idaho weather hazard briefing for Friday, August 23rd. Taking a look at the main impacts over the next few days. On Saturday, we're expecting breezy conditions with critical fire weather conditions when combined with the minimum relative humidity values across the Arco Desert, specifically zones 410 and 425, are under the fire weather watch for Saturday. Can anticipate some additional headlines most likely for Sunday, as winds will be stronger for Sunday. We're expecting a dry cold front to move through the region Saturday night, and that'll be responsible for this wind. But as I mentioned, even stronger winds Sunday with critical minimum relative humidity values, and that's really the end for the impacts, as next week looks warm and dry with just some typical breeziness. Not highlighting any days at this time, and the general confidence level for the forecast is medium to high. Taking a look at your impact matrix here, and Saturday the strongest winds will be across the Snake Plain, Eastern Magic Valley, Arco Desert, but it will be breezy across the Salmon Chalice as well, and that includes the rest of the Central Mountains here. Not a lot of wind expected farther south towards the Utah border. So these areas aren't shaded, and also not a lot of wind for the Sawtooths or Soldiers on Saturday. That does change for Sunday, though, as breezy to windy conditions are expected across all of southeast Idaho. Strongest winds expected to be in the Eastern Magic Valley, Snake Plain, Arco Desert, and the reason for some of the orange coloring here. Also, some of the southern highlands could see some critically strong wind gusts. So, in addition to the fire weather concerns, some choppy water on area waterways, and perhaps some patchy blowing dust could be possible as well Sunday, with the best time for the strongest winds expected to be generally in the noon to 9 p.m. time frame. Same for Saturday. Taking a look at the satellite picture this morning, we'd see an area of low pressure over south central Montana. That area of low pressure did bring some wetting rains to portions of the Salmon Chalice and also some areas along the Montana border this afternoon. We're in this dry area for today, so that's the reason why we're not expecting any weather impacts for today. But if we look off to the north and west, we see an area of low pressure here near the Alaskan Panhandle, and there's a cold front that extends from that low out over the Northwest Pacific here, and that cold front will be moving through Saturday night, so we'll see an increase in winds ahead of it on Saturday and an increase in winds behind it on Sunday. Here's the ERCs that we showed you yesterday. We had some 90th percentile and above ERCs over the southeast portion of Idaho over zone 413 rather, but notice how they decreased with the cold front that came through today, and particularly with some of the wetting rains we saw over the Salmon Chalice. So one more time you can see the comparison there between the 2 days. And we did see a corresponding decrease in 10-hour fuel moisture. Yesterday we were getting into some of the extreme values across far southeast Idaho, but those have dropped off significantly. Do expect these values to come back up though, as we're not anticipating really any in the way of measurable rainfall through midweek, with several days of warm, dry, and breezy conditions. So jumping into the wind gust forecast here for Saturday, we can see the southwest to west wind gusts strongest here across the Arco Desert, where some gusts will be in the 30 to 35 mile per hour range. But even across the Salmon Chalice, some of the mid and upper slopes, expecting to see wind gusts in the 25 to 30 mile per hour range up there as well. Notice though, as we mentioned, not a lot of wind down in the far southeast corner towards the Utah border. Expect the breezy conditions to last all the way through Saturday night, and then by the time we get to Sunday, like I said, starting around noon, that's when we should start to see some critical fire weather wind gusts being reached, and those winds will continue through the afternoon and early evening before diminishing after sunset. Notice the winds still breezy across the central mountains, including the Salmon Chalice and Sawtooth National Forest, but the winds are 5 to 10 miles per hour lighter on Sunday than compared to Saturday. Shifting farther south, the Eastern Magic Valley and Arco Desert, seeing those wind gusts in the 35 to 40 mile per hour range in some of these brighter yellow colors here. That's where the winds are forecast to be strongest on Sunday. Notice some of our southern highlands and Albion Mountains also seeing potentially some wind gusts over 30 miles per hour as well. Looking at the minimum relative humidity values, see a broad area where minimum relative humidity values are forecast to be under 15% across zones 425 and 410. That's also where the strongest wind gusts are forecast. So hence the fire weather watch for Saturday for fire weather zones 410 and 425. Again, we'll likely see some additional headlines to account for Sunday's critical fire weather conditions as well. Here's a look at those minimum relative humidity values for Sunday, seeing some critically low values again across the Arco Desert, portions of the Snake Plain and eastern Magic Valley, and also some of the valleys across the Salmon Chalice National Forest, seeing critical minimum relative humidity values for Sunday. The minimum relative humidity forecast for Monday looks very similar, but at this time we're not forecasting any critical wind gusts. Let me go back to that. So the minimum relative humidity values you see here for Monday look very similar for Tuesday and Wednesday, and they do come up a few percentage points Thursday and Friday with a very slight increase in moisture, and that's when we begin to carry an isolated thunderstorm chance on Thursday and Friday, but we have to go all the way nearly a week out before we see any precipitation chances in the forecast. A look here at the high temperatures, still remaining below average today behind yesterday's cold front, but we'll see temperatures respond on Saturday ahead of the next cold front, jumping up about 10 degrees above Friday's forecast high temperatures, and falling a few degrees on Sunday behind the dry cold front, and staying below average for Monday, but by the time we get into Tuesday, a ridge of high pressure is forecast to begin to build back across the region, and so temperatures respond accordingly, getting back up onto the increase, and by midweek we do expect temperatures to get back above average and stay there through the end of next week. But beyond next week, taking a look at the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, above normal temperatures are favored through the first few days of September, with below normal precipitation favored. That'll conclude the briefing for today. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, we welcome those to the phone number or email address you see here. Thank you and have a good day.